As problems and war overwhelmed the world in 2022, Indonesia was more than successful performing its G20 presidency to lead the way under disruptions and tensions. This is the story from Rome to Bali, where countries had witnesses that Indonesia has reminded the world that dialogues and peace talk could find the best way. MGN's Adwin Kurniawan has the story.
Everything started in Rome, Italy, October 31st, 2021, when Indonesian President Joko Widodo, in front of world leaders, received G20 relief baton from Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi. Since that day, Indonesia had stepped its destiny to lead the world passing multi-crisis.
Di hamparan pantai Bali yang indah, yang menginspirasi gagasan-gagasan inovatif untuk produktivitas G20 ke depan. Sampai bertemu di Indonesia, terima kasih.
2022 became the most difficult time for G20 and the rest of the world. COVID-19 pandemic had disrupted, even dragged the world into a looming circumstance with no clear exit. It also left a wide gap between rich and poor countries in a times to protect their people. Then, question came up, as the future of the world system to control the virus was weaker than it was prepared. Leaders realized that the world faced vaccine inequity and had less money to run health infrastructures to cure the infected. But the biggest challenge in 2022 was actually coming in the end of February, when Russian forces with tanks and dozens of fighter jets launched massive attacks to eastern and southern parts of Ukraine. On the other hand, Indonesia tried to build a bridge for peace. By having bigger and strategic role in G20, President Widodo decided to time the war in Ukraine and of course its global impact by visiting the heart of the conflict. He made paths to Kiev and Moscow to meet President Zelensky and then President Putin. After having a meeting with G7 leaders in Germany, President Widodo and wife boarded a train to reach Kiev, though Russian shelling in the eastern part of Ukraine still continue. Morning on June 29 in Irpin, Ukraine, President Widodo called for an end to war after he inspected the rubble of an apartment complex. He was there along with his wife, Iriana, and some Indonesian officials. Turned at the same day, upon his arrival at Mariinsky Palace in Kiev, President Widodo was welcomed by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the palace in Srem. President Widodo revealed that the mission was to invite President Zelensky to give room for dialogue to build peace. He firmly invited Zelensky to attend G20 summit in Bali for delivering speech in the summit. Indonesia emphasized respect for national sovereignty and a peaceful resolution to Russia-Ukraine conflict. Then Indonesia committed to strengthen relations with Ukraine. President Widodo said that Indonesia would provide medical supplies and help rebuild hospitals around Kiev that have been damaged by Russian attack.
Saya sampaikan kembali undangan saya kepada Presiden Zelensky secara langsung untuk berpartisipasi dalam KTT G20 yang akan diselenggarakan bulan November tahun ini di Bali. Kemudian yang kedua, saya tegaskan posisi prinsip Indonesia mengenai pentingnya penghormatan terhadap kedaulatan dan integritas wilayah. Yang ketiga, walaupun masih sangat sulit dicapai, saya tetap sampaikan pentingnya penyelesaian damai dan spirit perdamaian tidak boleh pernah luntur.
June 30. President Widodo was in Kremlin with Russian President Vladimir Putin. President Widodo claimed that the talks between the two leaders were not easy. In a conversation with Putin, he said he was forced to change the topics of his peace mission. Preparing a space for dialogue for the two countries in conflict was not less difficult as well. The key issue underlying the meeting since the war began, Russian forces have blockaded the shipping of Ukrainian grains, Worldwide supplies were disrupted and famine and food crisis followed this situation.
Bahwa isu perdamaian dan kemanusiaan selalu menjadi prioritas politik luar negeri Indonesia. Konstitusi Indonesia mengamanatkan agar Indonesia selalu berusaha berkontribusi bagi terciptanya perdamaian dunia. Dalam konteks inilah saya melakukan kunjungan ke Kiev dan ke Moskow. Dapat saya sampaikan bahwa Indonesia tidak memiliki kepentingan apapun kecuali ingin melihat perang dapat segera selesai dan rantai pasok pangan, pupuk, energi dapat segera diperbaiki karena ini menyangkut kehidupan ratusan juta orang bahkan miliaran manusia. Saya mengajak seluruh pemimpin dunia untuk bekerja sama kembali menghidupkan semangat multilateralisme, semangat damai dan semangat kerjasama. Hanya dengan spirit itulah perdamaian dapat dicapai.
The global situation was still in dire, but 2 or 3 weeks after President Widodo met President Putin at Kremlin, a ship started leaving Odessa to Istanbul, Turkey. The ship began to export grain to the rest of the world. Weeks after that, Indonesia continues some important G20 agendas. Foreign minister meeting was held in Bali. The foreign minister of the group of 20 countries are attending a joint summit on Friday, July 8. At that time, conflict between the West and Russia has second, making G20 in dire. European countries felt the cost of the war in Ukraine as they depend their energy supplies from Russia. Fuel and gas prices were soaring high, and of course just within a short period, food prices follow in this trend. And many countries report highest inflation they did not predict before. In July, G20 became a battlefield for Russian bloc and the West Alliance. Russia made its turnover in G20 summit in Bali. On the end of 2022, the war cost Russia billions of dollars in debt. President Vladimir Putin said that Russia wants an end to the war in Ukraine and that this would inevitably involve a diplomatic solution. Talks in G20 are bigger than what the world has thought, and Indonesia marks its way to reach world peace by its indirect but meaningful message that President Widodo has conveyed in front of world leaders.
Ditutup. Dan palu kepemimpinan saya serahkan kepada India.